Hello, my name is Tim, my company is Sports and Touring, and we are performance Jaguar and particularly F-Type specialists. And I am beyond delighted to have this car on our stock list. Back in the 2010s, when people were placing orders for the F-Type, new from the factory, there were some colours in the colour palette which weren't very popular. British Racing Green, Italian Racing Red, Loire Blue. Very low numbers of orders for those cars, but those colours are now very much in vogue, very much in fashion, and therefore very much in demand, while supply of them is very low because very few were built. And the colour to which that rule applies above all others is fire sand orange. It is a stunningly beautiful colour, which suits the lines of the F-Type so brilliantly well. And when it's paired with black pack and sitting on freshly factory refurbished gloss black 20-inch alloy wheels, it adds up to the most sumptuous visual experience. This car is in amazing condition as well. It's a very low mileage example. It's been very well maintained indeed. The care that the previous owners have taken of it is impeccable, and I will be delighted to show you around. The Jaguar F-Type is widely acknowledged to be a modern classic. It is, of course, Jaguar's last ever internal combustion sports car. It sits at the end of a long and glorious history of automotive innovation and manufacture. A glorious history too of motor racing and sporting events, which Jaguar have played a significant role in over many decades. The F-Type then is a perfect punctuation mark for this moment in Jaguar's history. And then we look at this particular example, and I was totally blown away when I went to pick it up from its last owner, not only by the quality of the car, the shimmering nature of the paintwork, which has been so carefully looked after and cleaned and kept detailed over its life, but also the enthusiasm with which the last owner spoke about the car and their enjoyment of it and relationship with it. It's clearly been cherished and loved. It's obviously been taken care of. It was living in a beautiful garage when I went to collect it, where it had been kept indoors when not being used in its last ownership. And the fact that it has ended up in such stunning condition shows that this has been a vehicle cherished since it was delivered from the factory. Let's take a look inside. The car's supplied, of course, with 2 remote key fobs and the owner's book pack, but no need to have the key fob in your hand to open the car because keyless entry is one of the many extra cost options on this vehicle. There we are, we press the button, the door unlocks, the power fold mirrors deploy into the driving position, and we can look into this beautiful cockpit. We'll start with the door card, which is in fabulous order, resplendent in jet, Jaguar's name for their black leather, with contrast fire sand stitching, which looks so good. And everywhere the quality is superb. We can see no marks or blemishes on this door card, and of note there is the little badge telling us that we have the Meridian surround sound system, the most expensive sound system available in an F-Type. The rest of the cockpit is similarly brilliant, from the scuff plate there to these gorgeous performance seats, which are in sensational condition, no marks or wear on them. You might expect to see some wear here on the side bolsters, but they have been kept in excellent order. And again, beautiful jet leather with contrast fire sand stitching, which looks really good. Sitting down into the car, and as I always say, the F-Type cockpit is a brilliant place to be. It is a great mix of technology and artistry. The beautiful flowing curve, for example, of the grab handle between driver and passenger is one of my favourite features. Looking around then, we've got a handy little stowage net between the 2 seats. Under the armrest, we've got a 12-volt socket, a USB socket, and an auxiliary input for the sound system. Then we've got the cup holder here, 2 cup holders and a little holder there in the middle, which will take one of those small drinks cans. And to explore onwards from here, let's start up the supercharged V6 with the start button. Another extra cost option is the Ignis start button and flappy paddles, the Ignis bronze colour, which looks so good, matched with fire sand, by the way. We'll watch the little flying display on the instrument binnacle as we start up, and then we'll see the centre air vent, of course, rise up into position. The engine over revs for a little while just to protect the catalytic converters, and will then settle down to its normal idle. But we're listening now to that glorious sound of the F-Type V6. It's such a good engine note, such a good exhaust, optimised for an exhaust note which is never going to be offensive, but is always going to be rewarding. Back to the centre console then, and we've got, of course, the switch for the retractable convertible roof. We've got the electronic parking brake with hill start assist, eco stop start, the button for the deployable spoiler, so we can put that up and down by hand. We've got traction control off and the switched active sports exhaust button as well. That, of course, comes on when you enter dynamic mode and goes off again when you exit dynamic mode, but you can open those exhaust valves independently using the switch. Here is the driving mode selector. It centres off, but we can move it forwards for rain, ice and snow mode for slippery conditions. Very useful mode indeed. Back into normal mode and then rearwards into dynamic mode. And you can see there on the instruments, dynamic mode confirmed, and the backlighting turns red and the checkered flag appears at the bottom left of the screen to indicate we're now in dynamic driving mode. And the car is sharpened up, the throttle response, the gearbox mapping, the suspension setup and the steering, all now reflecting a more dynamic style of driving. Back down to the centre console, and there is the beautiful shift stick with its little button at the front, so we can select drive and go across then into sports gearbox mode. In sport mode we can shift up and down using the shift stick, although I prefer to use the flappy paddles, which enable you to keep your hands on the wheel, of course, while changing gear. And back over here we'll go back into drive gearbox mode and take a look at the climate control panel here. Auto climate, air conditioning, recirc, and among the other extra cost options we've got the heated, electrically heated front windscreen. Brilliant in the British winter. When the screen is misty or icy, it clears very swiftly there. Again, dual zone climate control, so passenger and driver can select their own temperatures independently. And of course we've got heated seats as well, these beautiful heated performance seats which will keep you toasty warm in the winter. Up to the infotainment screen, very fully featured. We're at the home page here where we can go to the audio video selections and see the various sources available: DVD, CD, USB, aux, Bluetooth from the telephone, and we can store CDs in this car as well. So when you play a CD, you can store it into the jukebox built into the car to be replayed again later. We've got radio and DAB radio as well. Back to the home page, and we go to the navigation screen. Very clear, very fully featured, easy to use and interpret. It looks very bright in the video, I apologise for that, that's just how it appears on the camera. And then back to the home screen to see that we have Bluetooth telephony as well. We've got the climate options here, where we can select which way the air is directed if we come out of auto mode. And back to the home screen just to point out extra features. So we've got configurable ambient lighting in this car, where we can change the lighting colour on the vehicle to suit our mood, and also change the level of the ambient lighting. And also in the extra features menu, dynamic eye, so you can set the car up for the dynamic mode with engine, steering, suspension, gear shift to dynamic or to the standard mode. And also through this page we access the stopwatch with lap timer, the G meter and the pedal position indicator with graph. If you're going to go and do a track day in your F-Type, these are really useful features to have, aside from being a bit of fun as well, of course. Over on the steering wheel, the left thumb pad has the infotainment controls and Bluetooth telephony button. The left stalk has the automatic headlamps. Right thumb pad for the cruise control and active speed limiter, and on the right stalk the rain sensitive headlamps, and down here by my right knee we've got the switch for the fog lamps and the boot release as well. Like any convertible, of course, the F-Type boot suffers a bit from the fact that the roof has to go somewhere and you can't add 2 feet of extra length to the car just to accommodate it. Nonetheless, if we unlock there with the remote key fob, we can see that actually we've got a good usable space here. Yes, you'll need to pack soft-sided bags, of course, to get everything in. It's no good trying to squeeze hard-sided suitcases into this space, but it's a good wide space. It extends forward a good distance, so you could get a thin bag in there without trouble. And we've got this handy well here at the bottom as well, where you can add various bits of stowage for your travels. All in all, compared to other convertibles which you might be looking at, I think the F-Type boot is more than adequate. I know people who've been away for a week or two in an F-Type convertible, and although maybe you can't take a change of dinner jacket for every night, they've managed perfectly well to be comfortable on their travels. Let's move on to the passenger side of the car. Again, over on the passenger side, everything is in stunningly good order. The door card there is perfect, I dare say, as it left the factory. The scuff plate is pretty well immaculate. And this seat is again in stunning order. The leather and stitching are in brilliant condition. And again, the center console, dashboard are very fine indeed. Nothing to remark upon at all there. Under the bonnet, and there is, well, it's the plastic cover, isn't it? But under that is the supercharger, and under the supercharger, the V6 engine, 3 litres of displacement, producing 380 horsepower, and through the 8-speed ZF gearbox, driving this F-Type from 0 to 60 in just 4.9 thrilling seconds, and on to a top speed of 171 miles per hour. Again, under the bonnet, you can see everything is in stunning order. Great service history with this car. It has passed all of our inspections and tests without issue. It drives just brilliantly well. And this is a good time to mention that despite the technology, despite the design, despite the name and the badge, this car is about sitting there in the driver's seat, experiencing the amazing connection that the F-Type delivers between you as the driver and your hands and feet, and the car and the road and your journey. And those are the things that make ownership of an F-Type a real pleasure. It's so easy for us, having decided to specialise in F-Types, because being around these cars and being around the people who love them and cherish them and buy them and drive them is just a great way to spend the working day, I have to say. So thank you very much indeed for watching. It's been a huge pleasure to show you around this beautiful F-Type. We are Sports and Touring. We're just outside Andover in Hampshire, open 7 days a week by appointment only. You're very welcome to telephone, email or WhatsApp with any inquiries, or if you'd like to see this car either in person or by video call. We can send you a link to the online Google Drive folder for this car, where you can see higher resolution photos, which you can zoom in on, and PDF copies of important documents. If you've got a car to dispose of on your buying journey, we'll give you frank and honest advice about the best way to achieve the maximum value with the minimum inconvenience. And if you would like to chat about finance, we can do that as well. We're authorised and regulated by the FCA, and we work with a really brilliant broker. Do please take a few moments to read our reviews in Auto Trader. I'm very proud indeed of the things that our previous customers say about us. And I'll close by saying thank you again. Do please feel free to like and subscribe to us here on YouTube, and we will look forward to hearing from you very soon indeed.